Hi, my name is Saul Rodriguez and I want to talk about my evidence tree. First, I want to um, describe some important events of the last decades. Uh, First, I'm going to start in 1991, August 18, the USSR suffered a coup when President Mikhail Gorbachev is arrested by a group of critics, leaders, with liberal reforms being carried out. In December 31, the same year, the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics (USSR) disappears. In 1992, September 3, an agreement on universal prohibition of chemical weapons was adopted at the UN. Then, I think, in 1996, on January 26, in France, the President Jacques Chirac announced the definitive end of the nuclear weapons test. In 1998, September 27, Larry Page and Sergey Brin decided to create Google, intended to provide the world with a search engine and change to Internet. It is this day when Google makes its first appearance on the Internet. Mm, in 2000, July 25, the supersonic Anglo-French Concorde Passengers Air France crashed minutes after taking off from Roissy-Charles de Gaulle. Mm, 2004, August 13, with the presence of 202 countries, was inaugurated in Athens, Greece. The Olympiad of the Modern Era. The same year, in December 26, a very powerful earthquake, magnitude 9, tears the seafloor of the Indonesian island of Sumatra. In 2015, in the new Synod Hall in Vatican City, the second encyclical of Pope Francisco, Laudato Si, Praise Be, it is presented. The same year, in July 14, in Vienna, Austria, the US and Iran and 6 other international powers exchange of the lifting of economic sanctions against the Asian countries of laws. November 13, the same year, France suffered multiple attacks from the Islamic State. Uh, well, now I'm going to describe some terms. First, the globalization. The globalization is a process of interact and integration between people, companies and governments of different nations. It is a process in terms of trade and investment in the international arena, which has the support of information technology. This process produces effects on the environment, culture, political systems, economy, economic development and prosperity, as well as the physical well-being of human beings that make societies around the world. The, the terrorism is a set of violent acts used to generate terror in the people of a particular country. The goal of terrorists is to achieve political goals by force rather than reason reprehensible acts that damage often large number of innocent people. The unipolar world is a country where only one option, capitalism or superpower like the United States, is accepted, and its characteristic is the rule. The collapse of the Soviet Union, which had been the opponent of the West more than 17 years, led to creation of a new world order in which the United States assumed the role of hegemon. This new world, free from the tension characteristics of the Cold War, has facilitated United States invasion and its allies in various conflicts outside the UN. This raises a unipolar world. A unipolar world has one economic dominating state that holds a significant amount of power economic, military, and politically. And then the digital era. The digital term is commonly used to refer to all systems that they represented, store or use the information in binary. It is almost all electronic and computing devices around us. So digital era is what we are living today, giving the qualifier digital era when comparing devices that emerge from contemporary times, such as one where we are living, can be operated with fingers, such as touchscreens, phones, keyboards, smart TV, etc. The reasoning is based on which is not used fingers should not be called so. Now I'm going to relate some the terms with the situations I gave them first. The globalization is when nations interact in many sense, cultural, traditional, technological, political, and economic ways. They can gather and work together to found or release things that benefit the whole world. With advanced when they develop each other and gather projects, ideas, trades, etc. can help to all those different ways and be touched with other and they can be in a state of peace. Nowadays the world is needed harmony and integration to develop the world and different ways to benefit people who live in it. The terrorism is when the violent acts that generate and are used to intimidate, frighten, scare and quell other places that are already in their look is terrorism. The ones who practice or make terrorists are the people with determinate objectives that make the innocent people to pay what a superior form of nation does. And as mentioned before, with the terror the attention is given. Terrorism is recognized most as part of organization. Among the reasons are following: to create fear among population, to convince people of country over the failure of his government to prevent terrorism, and get publicity for the project. The methods used include physical damage such as torture, kidnapping, or even murder. With the unipolar world, in the first part I mentioned key information between nations and unipolar world that surrounds them. The term I used to describe a power structure of one superpower that is dominating certain territory alone. According to some structural realists, unipolarity is very sustainable, but why? Because of its progress towards multipolarity, when other powers will seek to break hegemony of a superpower. The digital era is a very new one in our times. Things start to change in base of new discoveries according to the needs of people. Technology is a much known word that has been an essential part of humans since years ago. We know nowadays electronic things are used mostly with only one touch of our finger without having to click a button. So countries are in constant fights to achieve the best things for market and to have the best products so they can could be sold. Now I'm going to respond some questions. Why did the globalization emerge? Uh, Specialists put the origins of globalization and the modern era, but others consider this phenomenon with a larger history. Andre Gonder was an economist who defended deep historical globalization associated with the dependence theory. He exposed that different types of globalization had existed since Sumerian and the Indian Valley civilization. Commercial links emerged in the third millennium. Thomas Friedman, an American journalist, divided the history of globalization in three periods, in which the first one exposed the globalization of the countries, in the second one the companies of globalization, and finally in the third one the globalization of individuals. Then we have the proto-globalization that is characterized by the European naval empires and the modern globalization started in the 19th century where the industrialization permitted the production of cheap articles while rapid pollution grew. The second question is, in most cases, what caused the terrorist attacks of the 20th century? The 20th century terrorist attacks were caused mostly by political issues. These attacks were caused by people who were part of non-governmental groups. They acted in two or more countries and they reached the obtained, normally proceeds from the drug and gun traffic. This century was a period especially conflictive in which armed violence is referred. More than 100 significant conflicts were developed between the end of World War II and the end of the century. The third question is, how does the end of the Cold War relate with the unipolar world? They are related and going together with the transition to the unipolar system that is now 20th century has brought major changes in the end of the Cold War. Those changes are reflected in different areas such as political and social ones. With the USA emerging as a whole superpower and the help of the new system, the total number of armed conflicts has decreased, despite the number of terror attacks. The end of the Cold War framework because as known, the USSR and the United States were in constant war. The USSR, to be the head of the socialists, had some countries giving by them support and this entailed large expenditures of arms, soldiers and vehicles, which made the USSR spend a lot of money and failed economically. With this in places dominated by the socialists, power as a Germany, who were tied to bad economy that is brought and the division of their nation into they started a revolt which made finally collapse the famous Berlin Wall. With this framework, the defeat of the USSR in the Cold War, and just the Cold War and under Soviet break. Now the world is a unipolar because it means that when the world is divided into social blocks, the USSR and the capitalist United States, and when the Soviet Union fell, the social war were also fought with what the United States comes up with the capitalist politics. How has the digital era influenced today's society? Technologically converged brought about by the so-called digital revolution era in the set of technologies whose applications open a wide range of possibilities in the human communication. The rapprochement between the technological and the media mass communication sets out a new economic, productive and social model that involves the appearance of industries, professional profiles and economic models until now unknown. Therefore, an spectacular panorama is present where the communication possibilities can multiply, and fragmentation and the segmentation of the contents occurs. This is the new communicative sense applies in new, more active user profiles and a productive structure with the new professional profiles. Well, thank you for your attention.